Part 102. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1012. I quietly watched the man on the witness stand. Tall and strong, with strong arms, it can be seen that he has the habit of exercising all the year round, and the expression on his face is dull, showing no clues. Is it him? Chu Mingjun beside her asked her in a low voice. I looked indifferent. I will know soon. The prosecution asked Ding Haowei to testify in court for only one purpose, that is to overthrow Zhuangjia's testimony. Since Zhuangjia said that the story was heard from someone else, they found a witness to prove that the story came from Zhuangjia herself. Mr. Ding Haowei, please tell everyone what happened at the party. At that time, a fashion show should have just ended. We were drinking and eating at the party. Someone proposed to play a game. Everyone shared an amazing story, and then Zhuangjia talked about it. Ding Haowei said. Qin Lei asked, can you tell me more specifically about that matter? Ding Haowei glanced at Zhuangjia in the dock, and said, it's been too long, I can't remember the details. I just remember that she mentioned a male model named Fei Li, and the two had some conflicts, and then, she killed each other. Are you sure the defendant told this story? Qin Lei emphasized, pointing to Zhuangjia. Ding Haowei nodded, I'm sure. I stood up, Mr. Ding Haowei, can you repeat the story you heard in court? I'm afraid not, Ding Haowei said, it's been too long. I smiled, yes, it's been 3 or 4 years, but you can still remember it accurately. The story was told by my client. I have to say that your memory is very good. Ding Haowei replied without changing his face, after all, it is a murder, so I am very impressed. Yeah, it's really explosive. Were you shocked after listening to it? I asked him. Ding Haowei hesitated for a moment, then nodded, yes. I continued to ask, and then? Did you do anything? For example, call the police? Ding Haowei frowned, no. I asked in surprise, why didn't you call the police? You heard a shocking murder case, but didn't call the police? Didn't tell anyone? Didn't do anything? Ding Haowei couldn't help but retort, I thought she was joking at the time. Everyone drank and had fun and they were all bragging. I didn't take it seriously. It turned out to be a joke. I suddenly realized and nodded, so, you have memorized a joke that you didn't take to heart for 3 or 4 years. You forgot everything else at the party, except me. The client is a joke. Do you have a crush on my client? Ding Haowei's face turned pale instantly. Objection, Qin Lei stood up angrily. I'm sorry, I take back my last sentence. I looked at Ding Haowei with a smile, and said, you don't have a crush on her, you want to frame her, right? Objection. The defense lawyer is attacking the witness, Qin Lei shouted hastily. Your Honor, I'm just trying to prove that this witness's testimony is inconsistent. I said calmly, I have the right to cross-examine any witness who accuses my client. The judge pondered for a moment, and said, the objection is invalid, and the defense lawyer can continue to question. Qin Lei showed disappointment, and then sat down helplessly. I smiled, looked at Ding Haowei on the witness stand again, and approached slowly step by step. There was a faint smile on the corner of her mouth, and her clear eyes were bright, as if she saw a prey that had fallen into a trap, and her eyes were faintly jumping with joy. Mr. Ding Haowei, I like playing games very much, and I have a very good memory. I walked up to him and looked at him with a smile in his eyes. Just now you said that everyone at the party shared an amazing story. Zhuangjia told the story of murdering Fei Li. How about you? Can you share with us your story? Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1013. The audience fell into an eerie silence. Muzi just asked witnesses to share her story, but for some reason, the atmosphere was vaguely wrong, and everyone held their breath involuntarily. Ding Haowei did not answer. What? You remember Zhuangjia's story, but not your own, Muzi asked. The smile on her face remained undiminished, and her voice was soft, but Ding Haowei felt that there was sarcasm in that smile and a long meaning in her voice. I don't have anything exciting to share, just making some random jokes. Ding Haowei turned his eyes away, not looking into Muzi's eyes. How could it be? Muzi smiled. As far as I know, Mr. Ding Haowei is a fishing enthusiast. He has participated in competitive fishing competitions and won prizes. For us laymen, such things can be regarded as it's very explosive. Ding Haowei's eyes were gloomy and he remained silent. Muzi took another step closer and asked, generally, when fishing in the wild, fishing enthusiasts will look for an excellent fishing spot of their own. Not only is the place hidden, but it is also easy to catch big fish. Mr. Ding Haowei, you're wild fishing. Where is the fishing spot? Ding Haowei's lips were tightly pursed into a line, and his brows were wrinkled, showing an extremely obvious resistance to this question. However, Prosecutor Qin Lei did not object. Because he also felt that something was wrong, he stared at the witness stand with a solemn expression. What do you think of Liuxi River? Muzi followed closely. Have you ever gone fishing there? This can't be a lie. Every time I get something out of fishing, I will take pictures and record the fishing location and date. Even if Ding Haowei doesn't answer, the police will go to the club to check and find out. Ding Haowei's livid face turned pale, and the veins on his forehead popped out, as if he was trying his best to suppress the emotions that were about to get out of control. Even if I've been to the Liuxi River, it doesn't mean anything. Ding Haowei's voice was low and trembling slightly. That river has a beautiful scenery. Zhuangjia can go there for a picnic, and I can go fishing there too. How do you know it's Liuxi River? Muzi still smiled lightly. I didn't say that the catfish was found in Liuxi River. I don't think it was mentioned in the news. Mr. Ding Haowei, how did you know? Ding Haowei suddenly raised his head and looked at Muzi in astonishment. Muzi asked, you killed them, right? Ding Haowei was shocked and angry. I didn't. You killed them. Muzi raised her voice firmly. You are familiar with the environment of Liuxi River. You know that there are catfish there. You are familiar with boat driving. You killed them, and you tried to frame my client for the crime. Ding Haowei, do you dare to look into her eyes? You have already killed 2 innocent people. Do you still want to ruin the life of a third person? Muzi turned to Zhuangjia and said loudly, my client was only 16 years old at the time of the incident. 16 years old, I don't know the habits of catfish, I don't know how to sail a boat, and I have to dismember 2 male corpses. Under such unreasonable circumstances, why? Will she be arrested by the police? Because of a story? She learned this story from someone at the party, and this person is the real murderer. I didn't. I don't know them at all. Ding Haowei got up angrily and roared angrily. The court door opened suddenly. Yu Yang hurried in, came to Qin Lei's side and whispered something in his ear. Qin Lei's face suddenly changed. Really? Qin Lei couldn't believe it. Yu Yang handed him the information in his hand. After Qin Lei finished reading, his face was already white. Fa, Your Honor. Qin Lei got up with an embarrassed expression. The prosecution dropped all charges against Ms. Zhuangjia. The judge frowned slightly. Withdraw the charges. Yes, we found that Ding Haowei once paid for 2 months of medical expenses for one of the victims. Qin Lei looked at Ding Haowei on the witness stand. His voice was stiff. The prosecution requested that Ding Haowei was arrested for first-degree murder. The audience was in an uproar. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1015. The prison guards uncuffed Zhuangjia on the spot. Zhuangjia stared blankly at his wrist, then looked at Mu Ziyi, first in a daze, then in disbelief. Charges dropped. She didn't have to wait until the trial was over for her to be innocent. Zhuangjia was free. Shenzhenru hugged her daughter tightly, emotionally, and Mu Ziyi, Zhang Xinyuan, and Zhang Xi also surrounded her. Everyone is very happy. Thank you so much. Zhuangjia looked at her friends, unable to express her gratitude. She suddenly put her arms around Mu Ziyi's neck, and kissed Mu Ziyi hard on the cheek. Zizi, thank you. Mu Ziyi laughed out loud. Zhuangjia went to hug Zhang Xi again, and kissed Zhang Xi on the face too. Sister Zhang Xi, thank you. Zhang Xinyuan didn't fall behind either, and was kissed by Zhuangjia, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. I didn't help much. Sitting there and supporting me, you've already helped me a lot, Zhuangjia said. Zhang Xi immediately said narrowly, Yu Yang contributed the most, and the credit is indispensable. Two prosecutors, Yu Yang and Qin Lei, were standing not far away, looking at this side. Zhuangjia happily ran forward. Yu Yang raised his eyebrows, vaguely feeling something. He hesitated to dodge, but he was a step too late, and Zhuangjia pulled him back and kissed him on the cheek. It has nothing to do with love, but just playfulness among friends and the release of emotional excitement. Zhuangjia often deals with foreigners, and kissing on the cheek is not a big deal. Yu Yang was very uncomfortable, and the emotions in his heart were inexplicable and a little floating. Huh. Zhuangjia finished the kiss, her eyes showed confusion, and she smacked her lower lip. Yu Yang, your face, why does it seem so rotten? Yu Yang. Qin Lei, who was standing beside Yu Yang, sniffed subconsciously, with a complicated expression, silently covering his nose. Yu Yang said in embarrassment, someone accidentally splashed water on the road. Mu Ziyi and Zhang Xi laughed together. Yu Yang. You are blushing, Zhang Xi laughed the hardest. After working together for several years, it was the first time to see a change in poker face. It was really rare. I'm leaving first, go back and wash. The blushing was only for a moment, and Yu Yang's expression quickly returned to seriousness. Remember to come to eat after washing, Zhang Xi greeted him. Zhuangjia wants to treat guests, everyone should go, and it will be considered a bad luck for her. When Zhuangjia returned to China this time, she was originally excited about getting married, but her husband turned into a murderer, and then she was mistaken for a murderer, which is really unlucky. Shenzhenru held a small party at home and invited several people who had worked hard on the case. Everyone gathered to eat and drink together, and the nerves that had been tense for several days were finally relaxed. When the party was coming to an end, Yu Yang rushed over. Clothes look brand new and hair is clean and fresh. Zhang Xi made fun of him, you wash too slowly. You don't want to decal yellow on the mirror. Yu Yang still said in a stern tone, I went to the police station so I came late. Ding Haowei has already pleaded guilty. Everyone looked at each other. So fast. Mu Ziyi murmured. Thought the guy would struggle. Ma Kai's, that is, Fei Li, was hospitalized for a month, and he used Ding Haowei's credit card when he was hospitalized and after he was discharged from the hospital for follow-up visits and medicines. Yu Yang said, Ding Haowei couldn't hide the relationship between the two. Just plead guilty. Then why did he kill someone? Zhuangjia asked. The two brothers offended him. Yu Yang was silent. Everyone looked at him, waiting for an answer. Yu Yang had no choice but to say, Ding Haowei and Fei Li are lovers. There was a dispute between the two of them. Ding Haowei accidentally killed Fei Li. Later, Fei Li's elder brother Ma Kaiming came to find his younger brother. The two brothers look very similar. Perhaps out of empathy, Ding Haowei fell in love with Ma Kaiming, but the relationship didn't last long before Ma Kaiming noticed the clues. Ding Haowei repeated the trick and killed Ma Kaiming in order to prevent the incident from happening. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1016. After Yu Yang finished speaking, he looked at them and added, Ding Haowei kept emphasizing when he confessed that he really loved these two people, and he cut the corpses into pieces and fed them to the catfish, just because he heard that the spirits in the river ate them. The corpse will become that person. For example, some people will bury the ashes of their relatives under the tree and use the tree as sustenance. Ding Haowei never caught fish again. Instead, he often bought some high-grade feed and went to the river to feed the catfish. He said he was afraid that his lover would starve. Several people shuddered when they heard this. Especially Zhuang Jia and Zhang Xinyuan, their faces turned completely pale. He regards catfish as his lover. I think he's still covering it up. Mu Zi's eyes were cold and disdainful. It sounds like he's afraid that his lover will starve, but he's actually afraid that the catfish will eat the bait of other anglers after they're hungry. In case they are caught ashore, things will come to light. The big fish caught ashore have only two ends, either put them back into the river or sell them to restaurants. Zhang Ci showed disgust, nodded and said, You're right, whether you like it or not, it's all bullshit. He wants to cover up the cruelty of the crime process, so that he can save himself a few years in prison. Having said that, Zhang Ci looked at Yu Yang. How long is the sentence? Yu Yang frowned slightly, was silent for a moment, and said, 15 years. Everyone was silent. The air seemed to freeze suddenly, and everyone's eyes widened in astonishment. 15 years, Zhang Ci couldn't believe it. It took so much effort to catch him, and he was sentenced to 15 years in the end. Mu Zi was stunned for a moment, then came to his senses and said, Ding Haowei is 21 years old, and he was only 17 years old when the case happened. According to the criminal law and law on the protection of minors' rights and interests, the death penalty is not applicable and should be given a lighter punishment. Even if there is a life sentence, it is usually changed to 15 to 20 years as long as there is good behavior during the sentence. Yu Yang nodded. Qin Lei is working hard to achieve 20 years, but it's hard to say whether the superiors will approve it. Even if the sentence is 20 years, it's not much compared to 2 lives. Zhang Xinyuan sighed softly. Everyone fell silent, and the originally high atmosphere also dropped a little because of this. This feeling of depression lasted for a while. Zhuang Jia smiled and tried to liven up the atmosphere. Anyway, the real culprit has finally been brought to justice. We should celebrate it. Speaking of it, it is really thanks to Yu Yang, who found out that Ma Kai was ill about the hospitalization. What disease did he have? Why is he still hospitalized? Yu Yang looked at her. Anal fistula. The atmosphere became even more eerie. The expressions on everyone's faces are indescribable. After the party, Mu Zi went home. The matter was resolved satisfactorily, but the final result made her feel uncomfortable. I don't know how Ma Kai's and Ma Kaiming's parents will feel after learning of the verdict. Losing 2 children one after another, the murderer only needs to spend more than 10 years in prison. Jurisprudence is jurisprudence, and reason is reason. Emotionally, they feel that this person is so cruel that they should be ashamed, but when they return to reality, they must follow the legal principles. Life can be really frustrating sometimes. Mu Zi sighed silently. The car drove into the gate, and the green grass was verdant and verdant. The piebald python was crawling on the lawn to bask in the sun, and a few crows were scattered and frolicking around, using the python as a slide. One is missing. Mu Zi didn't know which one was missing. The crows all looked alike, but she only recognized Xiao, because Xiao was unique, with a pinch of white hair on her head. Could it be that Xiao's children got bored of staying here, so they went elsewhere to find other territories? It's not impossible. Musa sat down next to Sisi, gently stroked its cool and smooth body, and felt that it seemed to be getting fatter again. After sitting for a while, a car drove into the yard outside, a luxurious and domineering Maybach. Muse's heart shrank suddenly. It's Murong Cheng. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1017. This villa is her private residence, except for her husband Murong Cheng, no one else has the right to enter without authorization. Muse's heart beat fast uncontrollably. The kind of joy overflowing from the bottom of my heart is difficult to describe accurately in words. Murong Cheng is back. If he was free, he should go back to Jingling, but he returned to Qingjiang, which means that he knew that Musei had just finished the lawsuit and came to Qingjiang to see her. Before Murong Cheng's car came to a complete stop, a smile was already streaming from Musei's eyes. The car door opened, Murong Cheng got out of the car, with long legs and broad shoulders, tall and straight, as handsome and suave as ever. He came over and pinched Musei's face lightly. Do you miss me? Musei blushed immediately. Even though they have been together for so long, even if they are married, she always blush easily in front of Murong Cheng. I'm so busy, I don't have any fantasies. Musei muttered shyly, turning her face away from him. Tough mouth, Murong Cheng stretched out his hand to grab her bright wrist, and gently pulled Musei into his arms. He leaned closer, as if he wanted to kiss her. Musei hastily pushed. This guy is too disrespectful, even though he is at home, but the bodyguard driver has not stepped back, there are eyes everywhere in the yard. How could she push Murong Cheng past him? After being half pushed and half kissed by him for a while, Musei was out of breath, but Murong Cheng felt as if he was scratching his boots, very unhappy. After having tasted the sweetness, Murong Cheng already knew how to ask for benefits and how to be the most happy. He picked Musei up in his arms and walked directly into the house without saying anything. Musei was dumbfounded. So unscrupulous. When she was thrown on the bed, she finally couldn't help but said, "You can't just. That's it." Murong Cheng took off his clothes and pressed over. Musei's face turned red. When two people get along, there are many meaningful things to do. It's not just this one thing. For the first time, Murong Cheng actually stopped. He lay sideways beside her, propped his head on one hand, and put the other lazily on her waist, so that he could look at her leisurely. What meaningful things. Musei really wanted to talk to Murong Cheng seriously. Such a handsome and majestic man, why does he have to live like an animal? It's like we used to pick pomegranates together, watch the stars, and bathe Sisi together, or you cook for me. It's very meaningful. Murong Cheng looked at her with a smile in his eyes. Zizi, it's not dark yet, what should I do if I can't see the stars? Then, we can watch a movie, talk for a while, eat. Musei said the same to him. Murong Cheng closed his eyes and nodded. Well, it's time to take a shower after eating, and it's time to go to bed after taking a shower. What I have to do now is just bring up the last item. Musei. The palm he put on her waist slowly rubbed, his call-used fingertips slid across the skin, causing tremors, and then slowly descended. Murong Cheng coaxed, Zizi, be good, accompany me to finish this matter, and I will accompany you to do the rest of the meaningful things. Musei's cheeks were reddened, getting hotter and hotter. He nibbled on her earlobe, playing with his fingertips in the valley. Her breathing was all messed up. After all, he succeeded. Musei missed the meal again. It was dusk when Murong Cheng came back. Now that she woke up and opened her eyes, there were bright stars outside the window. Musei silently clenched her fists, feeling that she was not up to date. Look, it's just right. Murong Cheng held her shoulders and said, I'll watch the stars with you. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 1018. Go away, I'm going to eat. I pushed him angrily. Always being so nonsense, I don't know how the servants at home think of her as the mistress. Do they think she's obsessive? I hoped that she was thinking too much. The food downstairs has been prepared long ago, and it has been kept warm in the pot. Cheng asked someone to bring it directly, but I asked him to feed it. It wasn't that I was being hypocritical, nor was it that I was intentionally nasty. She was just out of anger and wanted to torment Cheng. Why did he make her unable to get out of bed as soon as he came back? Cheng fed her one spoon at a time. Her hungry stomach was filled, her belly was warm, and she felt lazy after eating. Cheng fed her another half a bowl of soup, and then he hugged her and lay on the bed to rest. I got up and wanted to take a bath, but Cheng refused. I just finished eating, so I can't take a bath, I'll go later. The two were lying on the bed next to each other, chatting lazily. I told Cheng about the case. Zhuangjia is really pitiful, I said. I heard from her tone that she probably doesn't plan to go abroad. If this kind of thing happens, I'm afraid there will be shadows in future dating. I want to introduce Du Hao to her. Please help me wearing a safety talisman or something, no matter whether it works or not, at least it can give you psychological comfort. Cheng said, according to what you said, she shouldn't ask for a peace talisman, she should ask Du Hao to buy a peach blossom talisman, so as not to get married. Hey! Don't make jokes about this kind of thing. I hit him lightly. Zhuangjia was really hit hard, maybe she has a psychological shadow. Just find an acquaintance, Cheng said disapprovingly, the kind of people who have known each other for 7 or 8 years, know everything, and are familiar with each other. It is impossible to suddenly become a murderer. When Cheng said this, I immediately thought of Wang Zilong. But Wang Zilong likes Zhang Xinyuan, he has a buddy relationship with Zhuangjia Kun. It would be great if Zhuangjia had a childhood sweetheart. I thought wildly for a while, then felt that she was too worried. How could she see through other people's marriages? At this time, Cheng asked her in a low voice, Zizi, why don't you use your original mobile phone? It's broken. I came back to his senses and said, I bought a new one. What's wrong? Cheng asked again. I's eyes flickered, she looked away. If it's broken, how can it be broken? Cheng laughed, and hugged her tightly. Did you not listen carefully in class and was punished by the teacher? Ah! You hated to death. How did you know? I turned around and hit him, extremely embarrassed. When Liao Liqin targeted her, she was angry and wronged, but she didn't want Cheng to know. I would feel ashamed to be caught by the teacher at such an old age. Cheng laughed out loud. Don't laugh. I reached out to cover his mouth again. Cheng smiled and kissed her palm, put his arms around her and said, there is something wrong with that Liao Liqin, I sent someone to investigate. I was slightly taken aback. Zizi, do you still remember Zhang Suming? Cheng asked. Zhang Suming. I frowned, feeling that the name sounded familiar, but couldn't remember where she had heard of this person before. Cheng said, Zhang Suming is Liao Liqin's husband. He once appeared in court to accept your cross-examination. After the trial, he was demoted because of his dereliction of duty. He was beaten to death on the street a few months ago. I opened her eyes slightly, and finally remembered. When she helped Chen Beian in the lawsuit, the police officer on the witness stand was named Zhang Suming. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1019. Jiang Suming is considered a very experienced police officer. He is serious and responsible in his work, and the prosecutor trusts him a lot. In the case of Chen Beian back then, many key information in the autopsy report were deleted by Jiang Suming privately. This practice made Mu Zi feel a little bit dissatisfied with him, but it is understandable. After all, the general environment is there. Prosecutors in Huayaguo are the most glamorous professions, but behind the glamour there are immeasurable hard work and sweat. 80% of the prosecutors are non-stop, and it is common for one person to handle 7 or 8 cases at the same time. Something. As Jiang Suming said, if all the trivial evidence is passed up, the prosecutor will be exhausted. And to put it bluntly, as for that kind of insect eggs, that kind of trace amount of pesticide, even if they were handed over, the prosecutor at the time might not find anything abnormal. After all, they had a preconceived opinion and decided that Chen Beian was the murderer, so they would not consider other things. But even if Mu Zi caused Jiang Suming to be demoted and punished, it did not harm his life. Why did Liao Lican get angry at her? Shouldn't he punish his leader in anger, or the street gangster who beat him to death? Why do you want to be angry and admire purple? Mu Zi couldn't figure it out. Just because I cross-examined her husband, she hates me. It's so unreasonable. Murong Cheng gently patted her head, and said, I also found it strange, so I sent someone to investigate carefully. This Jiang Suming has a lot of experience in the police station, has handled many major cases, and is already a first-class superintendent. And then he was promoted to be a police inspector, but he was demoted and his work history was tainted, and he might not be able to be promoted to a police inspector until he retired. Probably because of this, Jiang Suming drank his sorrows every day. Mu Zi had fought 2 lawsuits in Jingling. One was a nightclub girl's rape claim, and the other was the president's brother-in-law's headless wife killing case. The former is emerging, and the latter is famous. She still remembers that the eggs are useful, and the eggs are useful were always used as ridicules on the internet during that time, which indirectly explained her popularity. Jiang Suming also suffered such teasing, but it was completely opposite to Mu Zi. When people teased him, they were full of sarcasm and ridicule. Some people even maliciously nicknamed him Eggless Policeman on the internet. The scariest thing about cyber violence is not only the indiscriminate attacks on the internet, but also the fact that such attacks will gradually pervade real life. Because everyone is online. Jiang Suming's relatives, friends, colleagues, and neighbors in the community who he knows or doesn't know. When everyone around him looked at him with strange eyes, that kind of heavy pressure could crush a man with strong bones. Under such pressure, the wife's comfort is just a drop in the bucket. Jiang Suming didn't want to go home after get off work, and the worried eyes of his family would hurt him. He drank alone in a small restaurant until he was completely drunk. There was a barbecue stall outside the restaurant. Seeing him, a few young men in a low-spirited manner drank too much alcohol and laughed at Jiang Suming with the strength of the alcohol, asking him if he had any eggs and if he wanted to take off his pants for a test. How could Jiang Suming bear it? On the spot, people from both sides copied stools and threw bottles into a fight. He drank too much alcohol, his reaction was not sensitive enough, and there were too many people on the other side, so he was beaten badly in a short while. Seeing Jiang Suming lying on the ground motionless, the street gangsters were a little scared and rushed away. The owner of the small restaurant helped to call the emergency center, but he died not long after being sent to the hospital, saying that he had injured his head and suffered intracranial hemorrhage. Jiang Suming died just like that. He could have been promoted to inspector. Even without being promoted to the police rank, he can retire in a decent manner. But because of Mu Zi, he lost all face and even got the ridiculous nickname of Eggless Policeman. He died in a small and pitiful way. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1020. After Muzi I knew the cause and effect, she was silent for a long time. She really didn't expect that things would turn out like this. At that time, she won the lawsuit and returned to Xinjiang. She didn't pay attention to this matter anymore, and ignored all the gossip on the internet. Because at that time, Murong Cheng didn't know whether he was alive or dead. She was threatened by Huo Zheng and had to be wary of Mu Zhenning. Not long after that, Bai Wei disappeared, Murong Cheng lost his memory, and a series of accidents made her overwhelmed. Go up to manage the follow-up of that case? Even if she wanted to, could she still tell everyone on the internet to shut up? The final result is, a lawsuit, from which Mu Zi gained fame and fortune, but Jiang Summing fell into a trough in his life. He was not killed by Mu Zi, but died because of Mu Zi. There are 4 great tragedies in life: the loss of a mother in childhood, the loss of a father in adolescence, the loss of a spouse in middle age, and the loss of a child in old age. The youngest son needs the care of his mother the most. He cannot do without his father's education when he is young, and supports the family with his partner in middle age. It is impossible for Liao Liqin not to hate her when she lost her husband in middle age. Especially when Mu Zi's news appeared on the internet or on TV, this kind of hatred would continue to ferment and become stronger and stronger. Mu Zi sighed silently. Murong Cheng said, "It's not convenient for me to come forward about this matter, so I might as well talk to Sidu Yan and ask him to come forward and report the situation to the dean. Liao Liqin's current state is obviously not suitable for continuing to teach." "Forget it." Mu Zi leaned against him and shook her head lightly. "She's already humbled me, so let this matter go." Murong Cheng didn't speak, and he didn't seem to have any intention of pursuing further. This is a bit strange. The president of the magic department has become a Buddhist. Mu Zi stood up with her arms propped up, and looked carefully at Murong Cheng's face. "You won't be secretly troubling her, are you?" Murong Cheng laughed. "What trouble can I cause her?" Mu Zi said earnestly, "Although Liao Liqin's mouth is mean and her words are a bit wicked, it didn't really affect me much, and we don't need to bother with her. She's a teacher after all, and I've offended her badly, and my reputation isn't good." Murong Cheng touched her head. "Well, you're right." Mu Zi was stunned for a moment, feeling even more strange. It's unusual for Murong Cheng to let Liao Liqin go so easily. Could it be that he also has soft-hearted moments? Murong Cheng's heart really softened. The people under his command are used to beating and killing. If they really want to deal with someone, there is no such thing as a small punishment or a big punishment. Usually, some blood will be required. Huang Logui said that Murong Cheng did too many things that harmed his morality, so Murong Cheng felt a little jealous. Later, when I learned about Jiang Summing, I thought that Liao Liqin was the same age as Bai Wei, without her husband, without her children, all alone. Murong Cheng was moved with compassion. Now it can be said that everything is going well for him, and he has obtained everything he wanted. The only regret is that Bai Wei's whereabouts are unknown. Mu Zi and Murong Cheng lived in Xinjiang City for 2 days, and returned to Jingling by plane on Sunday. Before leaving, Mu Zi hugged her crow and snake very reluctantly. Murong Cheng said, "If you can't bear it, take it to Jingling." Mu Zi shook her head. "Bring it with you, pets suffer too much. Especially Sisi, despite the size of the boa constrictor, is actually much weaker than a crow. Every time he goes to a strange environment, he will refuse to eat for a long time, and the northern climate is too dry for Sisi. The servant only feeds it, and doesn't walk it often." Musa sighed while wrapping around Sisi's fat waist. "It's getting fatter." Murong Cheng said, "Aren't they all free range? But after getting fat, it doesn't bother to move. Then starve it for a few meals." Mu Zi pursed her lips, hugged Sisi, and snorted, "Cold-blooded." Murong Cheng was silent for a while, then asked her, "Are you in trouble?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 1021. Women are spoiled and don't make sense at all. Men think that husband gang needs to cheer up, and there is no room for bargaining when tidying up women. The time was too short for Chang to perform, so he simply postponed the take-off time. Private jets are just that convenient. Chang couldn't get enough. After a lot of cloud and rain, it took 2 hours to close it. Muzi was covered in sweat, her voice was almost hoarse, she didn't know whether she was screaming or crying, she was extremely thirsty. Chang fed her water, and jokingly said, "You just wanted to drown it." Muzi, who was drinking water, choked, coughed earth-shatteringly, and blushed, ahem, cough, 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 no. Cough cough, shameless. I still want to scold again, but I don't have the extra strength. Chang especially liked her blushing in embarrassment, as if it was fun to tease Muzi. After feeding her water, he hugged her and coaxed her in his arms, thinking of the wonderful feeling just now, vaguely felt that he could fight again, crusade some. Muzi couldn't stand him, and said anxiously, "You'll be dehydrated." Chang was stunned for a moment, then rolled onto the bed with Muzi in his arms, laughing loudly. The shy and reserved Muzi can now speak nasty words. He couldn't stop laughing, buried his head on Muse's neck, and shrugged his shoulders. Muzi became angry from embarrassment, and hit him twice feebly, feeling really desperate in her heart. Why marry such a rascal? The two fought at home, dawdling until night before getting on the plane. Muzi was so exhausted that she fell asleep as soon as she boarded the plane. When the plane arrived in Jingling, Chang woke Muzi up, but she immediately lost her temper and refused to leave. Chang hugged her the whole time and carried her all the way home. The next day, Siduyan received a call from the presidential palace and asked them to go home for a meal. "I guess it's been a while since we saw each other, and I just saw the news about Muzi's lawsuit, so I want to get together." Chang also wanted to chat with Siduyan about Liao Likan, but he didn't object at the moment, and went to have dinner with Muzi. When the two arrived at the presidential palace, the food was already on the table, complete with meat and vegetables, and colorful. The old lady was also at the dinner table, with a wooden face, neither happy nor angry, in short, she was still the same, with a strange look. "Is it going well in the training institute? Are you used to living in the new house?" Siduyan asked Muzi during the meal. Muzi nodded, "Very good." "I read the news, and you won another lawsuit." Siduyan asked, "Are you going to be a lawyer in the future?" "No, I'm just helping my friend," Muzi replied. Chang brought her food, and interjected, "Zizi wants to be a prosecutor in the future." Really? Siduyan was slightly stunned, and looked at Muzi. "It's not bad. You can start as a local prosecutor, work slowly, and become a state-level prosecutor. In the future, you will participate in the governor's election." Muzi burst out laughing. "Dad, I didn't think so far." Muzi smiled. "If you have any plans to run for office, you can start preparing from now on," Mr. Sidhu said slowly, "accumulate prestige in the early stage. There are too many mediocre people these years, and the people need fresh ideas. Zizi's own condition is very good, so it's worth a try." It is rare to be praised by Mr. Sidhu. It's just that Muzi felt a little embarrassed, because she really didn't have the idea of going into politics, and she thought she didn't have the ability to play politics. Including Siduyan, if he didn't have the various assistants and counselors that Mr. Sidhu arranged for him, he might not be able to sit securely. Seeing Muzi's embarrassing expression, Siduyan changed the subject and asked Chang, who was beside her, Have things been smoothed out recently? When Muzi heard this, she couldn't help turning her head to look at Murong-Cheng. What's up with him lately? Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1022. Murong-Cheng was not polite, and replied directly, it's a little trouble, it's still being dealt with, and it won't take too long. Sidu Yan nodded and didn't ask further questions. The topic turned to other places, such as which dish is good, the weather is about to cool down, and so on. During the period, they also talked about Ning Yue's marriage. I don't know how the two parties negotiated later, but the Xie family said that the marriage will go on as usual, and it will still be done according to the original time. As for the previous farce, it was only when young people quarreled and had conflicts. In this way, both sides can live in peace. It must not make people think that the Xie family regretted the marriage because they were not as good as others, and they left the bride alone at the wedding scene. While eating the food, Muzi listened to each other, but she was thinking about Murong-Cheng in her heart. From what Sidu Yan said just now, Murong-Cheng seemed to be in trouble in Xianghai. Why didn't he tell himself? After a meal, the old lady was impatient to sit for a long time and left the table first. The servant removed the food and tableware, served refreshments again, and they chatted for a while, then Muzi and Murong-Cheng got up and prepared to go home. Muzi couldn't wait. As soon as she walked out the door, she took Murong-Cheng's arm and asked in a low voice, did something happen over there in Xianghai City? Murong-Cheng was puzzled, what's the matter? Muzi said, if nothing happened, why did Sidu Yan ask you like that just now? Don't fool me. Murong-Cheng laughed, and patted her head, being a wife is different, there are more things to worry about. Hey! I told you not to fool me. Muzi slapped his hands away and glared at him angrily, what happened? It's just a little trouble, Murong-Cheng said. Since it's just a little trouble, why didn't you tell me? Muzi persisted. Murong-Cheng said, because you didn't ask. You. Muzi stared, then I'll ask you now, tell me quickly. Kiss me, and I'll tell you. Murong-Cheng was still calm. Muzi was so annoyed that he was like this. She was in a hurry, and he still coaxed her like a kitten or puppy. Muzi pulled out her hand and rushed forward to pinch his face. Murong-Cheng had been on guard for a long time, so he turned around and avoided. Muzi chased after her again, this time Murong-Cheng didn't hide anymore, instead he turned around and hugged her full, bowed his head and kissed her, then ran away after kissing. The two chased and fought in the garden of the presidential palace, ran out laughing and laughing all the way, got into the car, and finally ended the chase. They played so crazy that they didn't know that they had been watched by others for a long time, and they didn't move away from that cold sight until the car started the engine. Ning Yue couldn't see the car anymore, she closed the curtains with her drooping eyes, and returned to the table. There are several A4 papers with printed photos spread out on the table. It is a news photo of Muzi when she got married. In the photo, the groom and the bride are standing together, the two are smiling, surrounded by flowers, and the background is a crowd of people. Ning Yue took a black signature pen and sat at the table, painting the bride's face leisurely. Muzi's face was quickly painted black, and Ning Yue continued to paint mechanically until the paper was scratched, and the tip of the pen pierced through the paper, making a crackling sound. Ning Yue frowned, crumpled the piece of paper into a ball, and threw it into the waste basket. The phone rang, she glanced at the phone, and answered the phone a little annoyed, but the moment she connected, her expression became indifferent. Just 1 year is all it takes. If we divorce after 1 year, all we need to say to the outside world is that our personalities don't match. Outsiders can't make mistakes, and the face of the two families is saved. Anyway, divorce is not a shameful thing now, Ning Yue said calmly, but if you don't get married, Xie Lixuan, Think about it carefully. What good will it do you if you offend the Ning family and the Sidhu family? Outsiders will only think you are heartless. If I cry to the reporter again, you will still have live a good life? And you're confident outside, do you really think I don't know?